I was just looking forward to a peaceful walk in the woods, but everything changed the moment I encountered a tall, mysterious stranger. An unspoken attraction stirred inside me, urging me to explore him further. But just as my feelings for him grew stronger, secrets from Michael's past surfaced, threatening to tear us apart. I hadn't planned to venture deep into the forest that day. At 63, I'd come to cherish the simple joys in life: quiet walks, the beauty of nature, and the solitude that comes from escaping the noise of the world. The air was cool, the sky a brilliant blue, and the towering trees provided shade as I strolled through the woods. It was peaceful, the kind of peace I longed for. But as I wandered deeper into the forest, something happened that I could never have expected, something that would change everything. I had just turned a corner when I saw him, a tall figure standing against a tree. He was striking broad shoulders and a strong build that seemed to command the space around him. Our eyes met, and there was something about the way he looked at me. He wasn't like anyone I had ever seen before. His gaze held an intensity, both powerful and gentle, that froze me in place. "Didn't expect to meet anyone out here," he said, his voice deep and smooth, laced with amusement. I managed to smile, though my heart was already racing. "Neither did I replied. We stood there for a moment, the silence between us filled with tension. I could feel my pulse quicken, and a warmth spread through me that I hadn't felt in years. There was something about him, something magnetic, that drew me in, despite the small voice in my head warning me to be cautious. But caution felt far away as his gaze never left mine, and I found myself stepping closer. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his lips curling into a confident smile. I hesitated for only a second before nodding, surprised by how much I wanted his company. Sure, why not? We walked side by side, our footsteps nearly in sync as we ventured deeper into the woods. The air seemed to grow heavier, more intimate. Our conversation started light and easy, but there was an undeniable undercurrent between us. Every now and then, our arms brushed against each other, sending sparks through me that I couldn't explain. I felt more alive than I had in years, and the longer we walked, the more I realized I didn't want this moment to end. We reached a small clearing, the sunlight filtering through the trees and casting a golden glow over everything. He stopped, turning to face me, and I could feel a shift in the atmosphere, as if everything had slowed down. His eyes locked onto mine, and I could see the desire in them, the way his gaze darkened, filled with a hunger that made my breath hitch. "You're different," he said softly, his voice low and intimate. "There's something about you." I swallowed hard, feeling the tension between us intensify. "I could say the same about you." He stepped closer, his hand lifting to gently brush a strand of hair from my face, his touch light but intentional. The moment his fingers touched my skin, it felt like electricity ran through me, and my body responded in ways I hadn't expected. There was something raw and powerful about the way he looked at me, the way he touched me, and I knew we were stepping into dangerous territory. But I didn't care, I didn't want to stop. His hand slid down, resting on my arm, his thumb lightly stroking my skin as he moved closer. I could feel the heat of his body, his presence towering over me, and it sent a rush of desire through me that I couldn't ignore. My breath quickened, my heart racing, the pounding of my pulse loud in my ears. "You're beautiful," he murmured, his lips so close to mine that I could feel the warmth of his breath. "I've never met anyone like you." His words made my heart race even more, and before I could respond, his lips were on mine, soft at first, teasing and testing. I gasped at the sensation, at the way his mouth moved against mine, slow and deliberate, as if savoring every second. His kiss deepened, and I felt his hands slide down my back, pulling me closer until there was no space between us. I melted into him, my body reacting to his touch, my hands sliding up his chest, feeling the hard muscles beneath his shirt. He was so strong, so solid, and the way he held me made me feel both small and safe, but also alive with desire. His hands moved lower, resting on my hips as he pulled me even closer, the heat of his body pressing against mine. The kiss grew more intense, more urgent, and I lost control, my hands moving to his neck, pulling him closer, deepening the kiss as my body trembled with need. His touch was electric, sending waves of pleasure through me with each caress, and I felt a fire ignite inside me that I hadn't felt in years. His hands slid under my shirt, his fingers grazing my bare skin, and I gasped at the sensation, my body arching into him, craving more of his touch. He seemed to sense my need, his hands moving higher, exploring my body with a tenderness that made my heart race even faster. Every touch, every kiss felt like a new discovery, and I was lost in him, lost in the way he made me feel. He pulled back slightly, his eyes dark with desire, his chest rising and falling with rapid breaths. I could feel the same heat between us, the same tension, and I knew we were both on the edge, both ready to give in to the overwhelming desire building between us. "I want you," he whispered, his voice rough with need. "I want you so much." His words sent a shiver through me, and I nodded, unable to speak. I wanted him more than I had ever wanted anything before. His hands moved to my waistband, his fingers sliding beneath the fabric, and I gasped as he touched me, his fingers warm and gentle as they explored my body. My breath came in ragged gasps. As he continued to explore me, his hands moved with such skill that it made my head spin. I could feel a fire building inside, the tension growing stronger with every passing moment, and I knew I was so close to losing control. But I didn't want to stop, and I didn't want this to end. His hands moved lower, and a wave of pleasure surged through me as his fingers teased and explored, driving me wild with need. My body responded to him, every nerve ending alive with sensation, and I could barely stifle the moan that escaped as he continued, pushing me closer and closer to the edge. He pulled me in, his hands gripping my hips as he lifted me slightly, his body pressing firmly against mine, causing my heart to race even faster. I could feel him, hard and ready, which sent a rush of desire through me, almost too much to bear. "But you're incredible," he murmured, his voice thick with longing, as he kissed me again, his lips trailing down my neck and along my collarbone. His hands were everywhere on my back, my hips, my thighs, and the heat between us grew more intense as the tension reached its breaking point. Then, finally, he entered me. The sensation was overwhelming, a flood of pleasure that took my breath away. I gasped, my hands gripping his shoulders as he moved with slow, deliberate thrusts, his body pressing into mine with each movement. The heat between us was unbearable, the pleasure increasing with every motion, and I could feel myself losing control, giving in to the overpowering sensation of him inside me. We moved together, our bodies perfectly in sync, the tension building, the pleasure growing stronger with each second. His hands firmly held my hips, guiding my movements as I matched his rhythm, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps as the pleasure became almost unbearable. Each thrust sent a new wave of ecstasy through me, and I could feel the heat between us intensifying, the tension nearing its peak. I was so close to losing myself completely, and I could sense he was right there with me, his breath hot against my neck as he moved inside me, driving me closer to the edge. Then, finally, I shattered. The pleasure exploded through me, a wave of sensation so powerful that it left me breathless, my body trembling from the intensity. I gasped, my fingers digging into his shoulders as he continued to move, his body pressing into mine, pushing me further into the bliss that seemed to consume me entirely. He wasn't far behind. I felt his body tense, his breath coming in quick, shallow bursts as he found his release. The pleasure overwhelming him as he collapsed against me, spent, his breathing ragged. For a moment we stayed like that, our bodies still entwined, our breaths mingling as we tried to catch them. When it was over, we lay together in the clearing, the sunlight filtering down through the trees, our bodies still tangled together. I could feel his heartbeat against mine, the warmth of his skin on mine, and I knew that something profound had shifted, something deep that couldn't be undone. As the sunlight filtered through the branches above, I sat up, still close to him, our foreheads almost touching. "What now?" I asked, my voice a mix of excitement and uncertainty. I had never expected to find someone like him in such an unexpected place, yet here we were, entangled in a way that felt so right. His smile widened, a playful glint in his eyes that made my heart flutter. "Well, I'd like to know more about you, CL. I want to hear your stories, your dreams." Everything his sincerity made me feel warm inside, and I smiled back. "I could say the same about you. What brought you out here today?" He paused, his expression thoughtful. I needed an escape, I suppose. Life has been complicated lately. I needed to reconnect with something real, something raw, and I found it in you. I saw the vulnerability in his eyes, and it struck a deep chord within me. "I understand," I said gently, reaching out to intertwine my fingers with his. Sometimes life gets overwhelming and we just need to step away and breathe. We held each other's gaze, and it felt as if we were sharing something sacred, as if the universe had conspired to bring us together, two souls adrift in the world, finding solace in one another. "Can we stay here a little longer?" he asked softly, his voice almost a whisper. "I'm not ready to go back to reality just yet," I nodded, a smile tugging at my lips. "I'd like that." We lay back down, our bodies fitting together perfectly, as we began to share our stories, each tale unfolding like petals on a blooming flower. He told me about his life, the highs, the lows, the moments that shaped him into the man he was. I spoke of my own journey, of love lost and the loneliness that had crept in when I wasn't paying attention. With every word, the bond between us grew deeper, weaving a tapestry of intimacy that felt fragile yet unbreakable. The air was filled with the scent of pine and wildflowers, and every now and then, the wind would carry the distant sound of birdsong, a perfect backdrop to our conversation. After what seemed like hours, he leaned in closer, his eyes reflecting the golden hues of the setting sun. "I have to admit, I've never experienced anything like this before. It feels as though I've known you forever." His confession sent my heart racing, a mix of excitement and uncertainty surging through me. "I feel the same," I replied, "but what does this mean for us?" He took a deep breath, his eyes searching mine for some shared understanding. "I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know I want to explore this connection. I want to see where it takes us." A wave of hope washed over me, and I smiled, feeling a sense of possibility blossom within me. "I'd like that too. I've spent so much time chasing what I thought I wanted that I forgot to leave space for the unexpected." He grinned, his face lighting up as if my words had sparked something inside him. "Let's not overthink it then. Let's just enjoy this moment and see where it leads with that." He leaned in again, capturing my lips in a kiss that felt like a promise of something new. It was both tender and passionate, a perfect mixture of our shared desires and hopes. I lost myself in the warmth of it, my fingers tangling in his hair as I deepened the kiss, letting the world around us fade into nothingness. When we finally pulled away, breathless and smiling, I knew this day would forever mark a turning point in my life. Meeting Michael had opened a door I never knew existed, leading me down a path filled with new possibilities and rediscovery. As the sun continued to dip below the horizon, casting a soft glow over the clearing, I realized the woods had offered me more than just solitude. They had given me a chance at love, an opportunity to embrace the unknown. And as I looked into his eyes, I knew I was ready to take that chance, ready to explore the beautifully tangled road ahead. The world around us disappeared, leaving just the two of us, wrapped in the afterglow of an experience that felt both extraordinary and surreal. The sunlight streamed through the trees, creating patterns on the forest floor, and I turned my head slightly to meet his gaze. His eyes, still dark with the remnants of desire, now held a softness that took my breath away. It was as if he could see straight into my soul, uncovering emotions I had kept hidden for years. In that moment, I understood that this wasn't just about physical attraction. There was a deeper connection that transcended our encounter. "You've turned my world upside down," he murmured, his voice low and filled with wonder. "I didn't expect this today or ever." Really, his words made me smile, a warmth spreading through my chest. Neither did I. "I was only looking for a peaceful walk, and then you appeared." He chuckled, a deep, rich sound that echoed through the clearing. I guess we both wandered farther than we intended. We lay there, our bodies still entwined, savoring the lingering warmth of our closeness. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves above us, and for a brief moment, it felt as if the outside world had stopped entirely. I reached up, my fingers brushing along his jaw, marveling at the roughness of his stubble beneath my touch. He leaned into my hand, a playful smile on his lips, and I saw the way his eyes sparkled with a mix of sincerity and mischief. A sense of warmth bloomed within me at his words, and I couldn't shake the feeling that our meeting had been destined. The forest around us felt alive, almost as if it shared our secret. Maybe we were meant to meet. I said softly, wondering if perhaps fate had conspired to bring us together in this moment.